What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And in this video I'm going to be teaching you guys step by step how to paint braids, how to draw them in, and all of that jazz. So let's get it. Hey guys, so let's jump right into things. As you can see, I have everything set up. My reference photo, I just pulled that off the internet because I wanted to be able to show you guys an actual photo of cornrows, braids, whatever you want to call it, right? And as you can see, I've already started with my 8x10 canvas. This is an 8x10 canvas. You can get it any Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, whatever you have locally in your area is good. I have a Prismacolor, my favorite handy dandy Prismacolor color erase. There we go. My favorite color erase Prismacolor pencil. This, and it has the eraser, of course, so I love it, right? But you can use anything that you have. Your watercolor pencil. I definitely don't recommend that you guys use graphite because it bleeds. It gets really messy, especially if you're doing it directly on your canvas. So yeah. But anyway, I decided to start out my drawing first because I didn't want to waste you guys' time with the monotonous line drawing of the whole thing. So I just did a little silhouette. I started out, as you can see, with my braid line right here. Everything's starting to flow in gorgeously. But I wanted to show you guys in real time how I do, just in case you're curious, how to do each little layer of these cornrows, because you may want to be able to draw this stuff in. If you're not interested in that type of thing, like you just want to get right on into the painting, let me go ahead and what's up? Welcome to the family. Let me introduce myself. My name is Danielle. I'm the artist behind Watercolor Color. And if you love this sort of content, you know what to do. Go ahead and subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Give a girl a like. You know what I'm saying? Show me some love. If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can head over to my Facebook group at Watercolor Color. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Oh, I will have this, everything's going to be listed, of course, down in the description box below. All the supplies, tips, tricks, stuff like that. And I will have this line drawing, once it's completed, it will be available on my Patreon for those of you that are not good with drawing. Maybe you want to, I don't know, you just want to skip that part and you want to go ahead and get your transfer paper out. Just get your transfer paper out. Get the traceable off of my Patreon. It's just for $1 a month. It is a wonderful support for my channel, and it will help you guys out for those of you that are not interested in drawing. So I'm going to show you a quick demo. As you can see, I started out with my line here, and then I'm going to pop you guys into the time lapse. So as you can see the line here, right? We want to go, a lot of times people get confused. You can get bogged down by the whole image, and it could be hard to kind of look specifically at the details. So I try to the easiest way to do this is to break it down into sections and to look at it as like a shape. Break things down into shapes and sections. So that's what I did. I seen that on the side of her head. I broke everything down probably like in thirds. So this takes up a third. Maybe that's another third. That's another third, right? I can see that I'm probably going to have to draw this around a little further, go a little further with it. I can see that I'm going to have to end up doing that. Let me grab my glasses so I can actually see, right? That would make sense, right? And right above her ear, that's where our first braid is going to go. So you want to think about your plumb line where are things situated on her face. So that's what I did. This braid is right up against her ear. Then you have that other one right here in the middle of her head, and you have another one right here on top. So that's another one that we want to think about, something that's right here on top, right? So what I did, the easiest way that I can do this for you guys, right, to show you how to do this braid, is I followed that S curve, because I went down, I kind of traced it with did imaginary tracing, and boom, right? So I went down and boom. So I figured out which way I'm gonna be tracing my braid, and that's pretty much what I did. You go down, and boom, right? So what I did is I did 2 lines to signify the braid, right? Then, right, this is the tricky part, right? Then I went in, you guys, and let me kind of zoom you in. Let me see if I can zoom you guys in. There we go. Okay, so I zoomed you in a little bit. Okay, so I went in and I did like these shapes, right? So if you look at the shape of the braid, there's shapes here, right? And you want to go by, what do you see, right? What do I see? I isolated it to these shapes. These shapes, you go boom and then down. And it seems like all the braids have the same pattern, same shape, same pattern, right? So that's pretty much how I did it. I followed the pattern of the braid and went down these same kind of shapes. These same shapes. And then it kind of billows out, right? It has like a puffiness right here. And then another puff. It's always going to be a puff right there. Then another puff. And these lines you can actually make darker, because that's going to be right up against her neck. So you can make those darker to give the illusion, like those braids, or that shape, is right up against her neck, right? Now, these back ones, you can't see those as much, right? You can't see all of that. And those seem to be smaller. So you have the one bubble, which is like an oval. Let me kind of practice it over here for you guys. So you have the one bubble. And you want to do like an oval, right? So you have your oval, 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 oval. It's like a half of an oval. And then you go connect it right there. Boom. Oval. Another oval. And then you do the same thing here. Another oval. Another oval right here. And it's like a bunch of ovals, you guys. So that's the way I can explain it. Right? Another oval. So think of it like you connecting a bunch of leaves, so ovals together. Right? And you see that? That's when you get you're starting to see the pattern there. You're getting your pattern in there. So you see what I mean? You have a bunch of leaves that you kind of connected together, you guys. Right? So that's pretty much what I did. But I'm still following this pattern because everybody braids a little bit different, especially if you're just joining me and you're just learning how to do African American braiding and stuff like that. You're not really familiar with it. Most people in the African American community are used to these type of braids, are used to box braids, cornrows, all of that jazz, right? So since we're used to that stuff, we know how these patterns go, and we know how each person, whoever the hairdresser is, whoever the person that braids your hair, they're gonna braid your hair a little different. And this person seems like they have like a good braiding style, so it's really jazzy. You have all of these different variations right here. So, you know, you got to think about your pattern of how that person actually did the braid. So again, I'm going in, I'm connecting with my leaves, you guys. Yeah. Connecting with my leaves. You see that? Connecting with the leaves. But at the same time, you got to follow that pattern that's going down her neck, though. You know, some of them are going, even though you have these leaves, but they're going in different, you're going to have some that's going in different directions. So you have these leaves, and they're all going in different directions though. But the leaves should never be the same size. You see how they all kind of a little bit different, They're all kind of a little bit different. But they should still be connected. And don't forget to add your little balls, your little ovals on the outside. You have to have these little bumps on the outside. And here's where the eraser comes in, is a good handy dandy tool. And then I know a lot of people always ask me about like, how do I get baby hairs and stuff like that. It's all about the drawing, right? You got to take your time. This is time consuming. You have to really take your time if you want it to look good, if you want it to look right, you want it to be in perspective. Again, the basis of a good drawing, and I believe this all the time, is having a wonderful, the basis of a good painting is having a wonderful drawing, right? So that's what I believe all the time, is that if I take my time with the drawing and I really get these braids good, I really do it properly, my painting is going to be dope because the foundation is already laid. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have a house, you're not going to you're not going to not lay a foundation to the house. You got to have the foundation in order for the outer part of the house to actually look good. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Now, as far as these baby hairs, let's look at these, right? These are again, let's look at the shapes. They're all triangles. And they seem to get shorter and shorter as she goes further and further up the braid, right? So we have like a pattern, another triangle. So we all about triangles, leaves, ovals. Think about it again in shapes and stuff like that. If you break it down into shapes, into different sections, it'll make it a whole lot easier for you guys. So I'm gonna do one of these baby hairs, and then we're gonna get into so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my pencil. This is I love Prismacolor pencils because they're so beautiful and they're water soluble, you guys. So Once you paint this in, you're not going to see this pencil at all. Unlike graphite, you will see it. So you see how I like lightly shaded that in, right? And then I'm going to go in with like the 1 or 2 strands, like stray strands of baby hairs that I see right here, because I'm pretty much, I've already shaded it in at the top. You see how easy that was? Now painting it in is a whole nother other beast that we're going to talk about in the next section of this video. So make sure you guys save this in your playlist, stay tuned, you know, because we're going to really buckle down. And then you have like some strayness going on there. I usually like to draw basically because it's a necessity. I need to draw in order to paint properly. So that's usually why I do a lot of drawing, right? And then we're gonna do this one. And again, you can kind of extend it down. But remember, it's going into a triangle, right? So you see the triangle right there. It's just going into a triangle, right? And of course she has, and all of this stuff is about shading, your highlights, your mid-tone, your shadow. So it's all about shading and stuff like that when you want to do this sort of stuff. Like say you just want to make this into a straight up, now this hair goes, this hair is very weird right here. This one goes like right over here. It's like swings over to the left. And then you have like stray baby hairs and stuff like that, right? So that's what that is doing. See, I forgot what I was saying, you guys. I forgot what I was saying. And then again, we still have, what do we have? What is our shapes over here? Our shapes is still, again, triangles. Lots of triangles or little trees. You could say they like little trees, right? At the base, you want to shade that in. And then it's going to, and then you can start making your marks. That's when you can kind of start making your marks, right? Hopefully you guys are getting this info. You getting this tea. And up here, these are smaller ovals, right? Those are gonna be our smaller ovals. Okay, so I'm gonna pop you guys into the time lapse as I finish the rest of this in, because it's a lot. It's gonna take me a while to kind of get this in. Again, if you're not really that good with drawing, you can always get some transfer paper, and this will make it a whole lot easier. But I like to do stuff like this, especially when it has a lot of detail in it. I like to do this by hand and make sure I get it right, so I don't have any problems when it's time to paint. And let's pop you guys into the time lapse so you guys can watch me draw everything in. And then we're going to paint this in. That's the good part, you guys. We're going to paint it in. All right, so let's get it. Okay, guys. So, yes, this is the fun part. We are going into the painting portion. You can see I have all of my colors laid out already. I'm using my fave, right? My go-to Liquitex Basics, you guys. That's some burnt umber. I got a big tube of that, but you can use any acrylics you want to use, or you could even use watercolor, oil paint. It's still kind of like the same color mixing action, right? If you're not familiar with color mixing, I will pop that up in the iCard somewhere around here so you guys can utilize that. And of course, all of the things that I'm going to be using as far as colors is in the description box below. So go ahead and utilize that. Pause the video, save it if you don't have time to watch the whole thing. And this is basically for you guys, my Patreons anyway. So you'll have it here all the time in the timeline for you to utilize anytime you want to utilize it. It's just for you guys alone, right? Now, as you can see, I'm kind of like filling in. I'm just utilizing yellow ochre, a little bit of unbleached titanium, a little bit of white, and because white and yellow go together like peanut butter and jelly, you can't have one without the other. It really helps the viscosity. Okay, it is a good word for you. It helps it out. And the big thing about this is a lot of people don't realize is that your scalp tends to be way lighter than your actual skin tone, like your face and your arms, your body, whatever it is, right? Those parts of your body is going to be darker because they're more exposed to the elements, to the environment, to the sun, and stuff like that. Your scalp is not exposed to the sun, right? So with that being said, since it's not exposed to the sun, that is going to be lighter. So that's why you see me applying yellow ochre, and I'm just blocking that in, slowly just blocking everything in, yellow ochre, mostly yellow ochre at that top section of the scalp because of the fact that she has braids, right? So since she has braids, that's going to be really highlighted. And it looks like from the reference photo, she's in absolute sunlight. I think for you guys, I will actually provide the reference photo. It'll just be for you guys alone. It's not going to be something where you have to pay for it or anything like that. It's just, I think I will provide it just as an extra reference so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So basically, you guys, you just want to take your time with this stuff. Really take your time and just block this stuff in. I'm gonna like fade into the background and let you hear the smooth sounds, as I move through these different colors. Let me zoom in a little bit so that you can really see what's going on. And yeah, I'll be back to say more smooth sounds. So just enjoy the video for a little while. Now, as you can see, at this portion, I am starting to add in a little bit of deeper, richer browns, like burnt sienna, a little bit of burnt umber. It still has a little bit of yellow in it. And I'm adding that as I'm going down the back of the head. And basically, this is how it would look in real life. Like, you want to give that illusion like the head is basically cylindrical. Oh my god. I swear to God, English is hard. Like it's a cylinder head. I don't even know how to explain it. But you want it to look like an actual scalp. You want it to look as realistic as you can. Well, at least I do, because I am a realistic portrait artist, right? But I mean, if that's not something you're going for, then you don't have to put in this much detail, you guys. You know what I'm saying? You would only do as much as you want to do. But for this part, you want to really get into it because it is the blocking stage, right? So as you can see, I'm applying a little bit of darker color, doing these different variations in color as I go around. And this is all scalp. All these, the yellows and the browns and the reddish browns that you see is all scalp that I'm filling in. I'm blocking that in first. And then we're going to go ahead and outline and block in the braid portion. All right. So we'll check back in as I start to develop a little more. Now, as you can see, I'm starting to fill in the sides of the head. Now, on the sides of the head, because the sides of the skull tend to be flatter, it's not going to get as much light. So that's where you see me adding in more browns and stuff like that. And I'm going to pop you guys into the time lapse as I continue to block in those browns and stuff like that on the sides of the head. Now, you can see that maybe you can't see, hopefully you can, that I'm adding very thin glazes, layers to the scalp area. I'm not adding large globs of paint. You really don't want to do that, because then you'll lose your lines and things won't look proper at the end of the day. You want to still be able to see all the beautiful drawing that we just did, right? So you want to go light on that, glaze everything in. I'm using acrylic glazing liquid on top of it. It's by Golden. I'm going to also pop that in to the description box in case you guys want to pick you up some. It basically, it saves lives. It definitely saves lives. It slows down the drying time of the acrylic paint. And it helps with glazing. If you don't know what glazing is very thin down layers of paint. But except with the glazing liquid, since it is also a medium, it doesn't actually break down the chemical compounds of your paint. And as you can see, I'm still building up slowly, blocking things in, blocking all of that dark color in the recesses of the base of the braid, because now we're not really working so much with the light portion of the scalp anymore. Okay, so next step, I am mixing up my favorite mixture of burnt umber, ultramarine blue, to give me a monochromatic black, so that I can start blocking in and outlining the braids. Why am I outlining the braids? I'm outlining the braids so that I can have a blueprint and visually keep up with where I am, because it's a lot of little nuances and a lot of little details that comes with this particular drawing. It's very detail oriented when you're doing these type of paintings, drawings, whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to outline it with, I'm going to start in the middle, right? Because that seems to be my darkest value, which is, that's why I made a monochromatic black, you guys, right? Because it's my darkest value. So I'm going to go in between those braids where it looks like pure black. Now, if you happen to not have pure black, if you happen to not have ultramarine blue, have burnt sienna, or you don't have this type of mixture and you have just a regular black, go ahead and just put the regular black in. Remember, this is your painting, you guys. It's all about you and how comfortable you feel. I'm just trying to teach you the techniques and how I do it. But as you get more comfortable, or if you happen to be intermediate, a pro, or whatever you are, you can just go ahead and throw your own thing in there. You know, it's good, even if you're a pro, to learn new ways of doing things. Because I know hashtag side note, or hashtag sidetrack, even though I am, somewhat of a professional or an artist, or whatever you want to call me, intermediate, I still look at other artists' work. I still am always learning on a regular basis. It's very important for me to keep learning. So yeah, this is basically how I like to do things. So as you can see, I'm also adding that dark monochromatic black underneath the parts of the braid that actually lay down on the scalp, right? And I'm adding those, I'm adding that black because that's going to be a really dark part of your braid. So you want to make sure that that is always in shadow. It's really your darkest value, you guys. Okay, so I'm going to chillax and lay on back and let you guys enjoy some of the cool vibes as I continue to paint it in. And I'm going to check back in a few. Now you can see I'm starting to move into actually, because I've already blocked in or outlined that one side of the braid, right? So as you can see, I'm starting to block in the actual braid itself. And it may look like it's the same value, but it's not. I actually bumped that value up by adding in a little more burnt umber and burnt sienna to bump that value up just a little bit. You'll be surprised how these little adjustments that you make can really make a huge difference and make or break something looking realistic or amateurish. You know what I mean? And now, if you're wondering what type of brush I'm using, I'm actually using a watercolor brush, which is actually insane, right? I'm using I think a black velvet watercolor brush. I don't know whether it's synthetic or not. I think it's like a Kalinsky. It's kind of like a synthetic blend. And it's real dope. I've had it for a long time. It's really lasted me a long time. And it should last me a long time because these damn brushes are expensive, okay? But yeah, I love this brush. I think it's like a size 2 or size 0. And I'm using this brush because it holds its point and I can get into those really little spaces and do a lot of details. I actually use this for eyelashes and other things as well. So yeah, just in case you guys were wondering. But you can utilize any brush that you have available as long as it's small enough to get in to the little spaces of those braids. So yeah, as you can see, you need to start look at your reference photo, right? So this is another reason why I'm adding the reference photo to the timeline, so that you guys can see the little changes that happen in the reference photo, in the hair, depending on how much sunlight is beating down, depending on the cast shadow, or what's really happening in the person's environment. That's going to dictate how something is going to look. Now, mind you, I don't see a lot of like reds or orange or browns in the reference photo, but for my own sanity, right? Because if I put everything black on black on black, it's going to be very difficult for me to see where things are and to keep my values separate and to keep each section of the braid done properly. So I suggest that you block things in with like different values at first, and then you can always go back on top and do some glazes as we talked about prior. Okay, so I'm gonna check back in on you guys in a minute. Okay, guys, so you can see I'm starting to get towards the end of the braid, and I'm gonna continue to go around the head. So I'm gonna pop you guys into the time lapse because it's pretty much going to be the same thing, right? Same order operations. You want to outline each of the braids going around the head. Again, this is the block-in stage, so it's not anything that, you know, it's permanent. And remember, this is the ugly stage also, you guys, right? I call it the ugly stage. Why? Because everything looks crazy. You're just blocking things in, trying to get like a feel of how things are gonna be, especially if you paint intuitively. This would be the stage where you can definitely change things around. And the good thing about acrylics is that you can actually, even if you block everything in, even if you paint everything in and you happen to not like it, you could always go back on top and totally change everything drastically. So yeah. All right, guys. You can see we getting down into the nitty gritty, okay? We're continuing to block things in. I'm putting the dark spaces into those little strands and designs that go on the side. Remember, the underside of the braid is always the darkest value, right? In most cases, because that gets totally no sunlight. It's basically right up against the scalp, right? So that's pretty much what you see me doing, is blocking in those super dark spaces, which if you want to use black in this case, you can definitely utilize the black. But again, remember what I said about, you want to have these different values. You want to make sure you have variation. Get really creative with this, you guys. I really would love to see if you attempt this tutorial. I know it's long, I know it's a lot, but if you're gonna do something like this or paint this sort of style where it has a lot of detail, is really realistic, this is for you guys that are really into realism, you guys, right? So if you're gonna do this, you wanna get into this and take your time, right? So you want to get into those different values. You can get really creative. You don't even have to have it black and brown. You could put different colors, purple. Of the braid, I'm putting a different tile of color. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that to basically give me like a blueprint of where things are, because things are so similar in color in the reference photo. I wanted to make sure that these things stood out to me and I wasn't basically losing my place, so to speak, trying to figure out where I'm at. So with each little section of the braid, I will add a different color. So that's a good tip to use when you're doing this particular style. And then once you get each section done, or each part of the braid, right? And you can use any colors you choose. I'm just happening to be choosing browns and blacks to differentiate between the different section. And once you get through the whole thing, that's when you can kind of go in and do the details, because right now we're just blocking things in. I know it's like a long process. It seems like a long process. It's a whole thing, but anything worth having is worth waiting for, is worth working for. So I don't necessarily have an issue with taking my time, you know what I mean? Really taking my time with this stuff, kind of getting things done. So yeah, I'm just adding a little bit more black. Choose different colors, even if you want to make each one red, you know, red and brown, black and brown. Whatever you gotta do, you know what I'm saying, to make it through. That's what you gotta do. That's how I see it. So that's kind of the reasoning why you see me using different tiles of color on these different sections. And this won't be my end result, right? This is not the end result. Because again, with acrylics, you can always go over this in different layers. You know what I'm saying? I'm using my favorite mixture, monochromatic black, which is basically burnt umber, or you could use a burnt sienna. And I'm using this little detail brush. And you see how that gives an illusion of a black, but it's really just a dark blue. Or if you have Payne's Gray, you can also utilize Payne's Gray if you want. So that's pretty much why I decided to do it like that. All right, you guys. So I'm going to pretty much do the same thing, order operations. I just wanted to slow things down and show you. I'm going to do the same order operations all the way around. So let's pop you guys back in to the time lapse. Okay, you guys, you can see we are almost at the finish line. You know, I'm continuing to block things in, using those different values so that I can remember my way, like the yellow brick road, and I don't get lost with all the nuances of everything that's going on. Now on the back, the very back braids that you see me blocking in right now, I'm adding super dark, which is almost black, like a monochromatic black, but it has a little bit of hint of blue in it and brown and stuff like that, because you're not going to really see those back braids that much. Those are going to be just like a hint. You know what I'm saying? You're only going to see like the side of the braid. So for those, you can make those really dark to give that illusion like those are really back braids. And I mean, we're at the end, you guys. Now with, like I said before, with acrylics, you can continue to layer and layer and layer. And the more layers you add, the more realistic it will be. You know, and for highlights, you know, you can put a little bit of zinc white or mixing white, which is a transparent white that you can add for the highlights, but you want to make sure that your base colors, like your blacks, browns, whatever color you use for the base of the braid, is dry before you add those highlight colors. And that's it, you guys. Now you guys can continue to, you know, spruce this up, add your own flair. I would love to see what you guys come up with. I know you guys are creative. You have so many good ideas. If you attempt this tutorial, hit me up on the Instagram or put it on the timeline, because it is for my Patreons. Put it on the timeline. I would love to see your projects and to see what you guys do with this. So I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for supporting me, for loving on me. Happy holidays, because this is right around the holidays, you guys. Yeah. And I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.